Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another amazing episode. Today, we're having a conversation about self esteem together with self worth and connected back to mental health. I am Abdi Shukri, clinical psychologist, and on my right, I have, and on my left, I have.
Munira Hassan, counseling psychologist.
Before we dive into the conversation, I would really love you guys to really follow us on social media. Kindly share, like and subscribe. And every Wednesday afternoon, we will be sharing a video on our YouTube, but we'll be having a constant content on our other social media accounts, which is the TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and also Twitter. So I would love to kick off this conversation with Munira. Help us understand what self-esteem is and how it develops.
Thank you, Abdi Shukri. So to start with, what self-esteem is, when we talk about self-esteem, we are talking about the confidence someone has in their abilities, in their worthiness, in the fact that they are valuable, and the fact that they can be able to love themselves, interact with people, and manage every relationship that they have.
Okay.
Even when they take decisions, whether it's positive or negative, it's also something that they're confident about. So when we talk about development, we're also talking about when the self-esteem starts. When we talk about self-esteem development, we're talking about when it starts. How does it grow? At the point whereby when you're old enough, can you say that your self-esteem is good? Can you say that your self-esteem is at a point whereby you're confident about yourself? So it starts with childhood. From, I always say, the age of 0, very important, 0 to 3 years old. This is whereby a child is able to look at a mom and say, Mom, I need this. And the mom, or let's say, even if it's something that they don't like, they can say, Mom, I need this. And the mom will be like, okay, you need this, but how can we navigate through it if it's something that she doesn't want to give it? So self-esteem starts with the voice of the mother and the voice of the father and the voice of a caregiver, someone who's very important to you. The way that they handle a child, the way you will handle a child is very important. In that, your way of talking to the child, the way you help the child regulate their emotions, the way you help the child form positive image within themselves. This starts with the fact that, let's say, a child comes to me today and tells me, Mommy, I don't want to sleep. A very important or something that children normally do. Mommy, I don't want to sleep. So what happens? I know that it's important for them to sleep in the afternoon, but does that mean that just because it's important to them, I'll push them? I want to understand where my child is also coming from. So I ask them, okay, you don't want to sleep. What do you want to do? I want to play. Have you played before? Yes. Will you play after you sleep? Yes. Then take that child. Reassure them. Instead of saying, Wewe, you're so hard-headed. You're very stubborn. You're this and this. Instead of giving them a stream of words whereby at the end of the day it will still be negative, I'll be able to tell them, okay, my child, you're so smart, you're very nice, and you like playing a lot. But now that you're playing a lot, like how can we sleep and then wake up energized and then start playing? Can we also do like distracting a child in the first place? This child will actually know that I'm not a problem. I am someone who's able to make decisions. I can voice out my opinions. And that's the epitome of self-esteem. Starting from that point, starting from the point of I am not a problem, I can have a voice, I can make decisions, and I can say no, and I can say yes. And at the end of the day, that does not have anything linked to myself. So that's where self-esteem starts from.
Amazing. Thank you. Let me come to you, Zachary. If there's anything maybe you would love to add on the aspect of self-esteem and self-esteem development.
Thank you, Abshukri. For me, I may add only one point. The way also Aisha said, it starts at an early childhood. For example, right now, if you talk to your young sibling, or for example, as a father or as a mother, in some situation where your child does something or he comes to you what do we usually do is either two things. We either congratulate them or we demeanor them. Say, oh, you're not supposed to do such kind of thing. Actually, both of them affect, because one way, the first one, it's affect them in a way that they will feel that they cannot do something for their own. The other one, they will actually need a constant validation from the people. For example, if your daughter does something and she says, you tell her, "Oh, that was awesome." Instead of you telling like that, I had one of the scholars saying that better understand and ask her or the son, ask them why did they make this? What does it feel to them when they do like this? So actually, you will understand their worth of why they're making these stuffs. But in comparison or in contrast to you congratulating them or demeaning them, because and as we know Islamically, always as a Muslim, you need to balance them. So if you try to over congratulate them, it will affect them, and they will end up the kind of people who look for validation at the end of the day from the people. And if you demean them, it affects their self-esteem, their self-confidence, and their self-worth from their early childhood. That's what I could have added. I think the other thing is the way it develops as an adult accomplishment and personal accomplishment. For example, uh, will make you feel that you are worth for something, because it will give you a life of purpose. When you accomplish something, not that you look for validation from outside, but to yourself, you will understand the journey you have went through and how you felt at the end of the day.
Thank you, Aisha and Zakaria. For me, I will add, I think, only one point, and that is our life experiences. So if we had positive life experiences, there's high chance that might contribute to positive development of their self-esteem. And if you have like negative life experiences and maybe you don't handle it the way it's supposed to be done, like maybe let's say something like a divorce, something like losing your job, something like maybe going through a physical or a mental illness can dent your self-esteem. So I would love us to transition to another conversation, and that is social media. And we all know, like, the power of social media today and how much that can have an impact, either positively or negatively, on our self-esteem. Zakaria, I'll come to you. What is the role of social media when it comes to self-esteem?
Actually, in today's world, the constant exposure of social media, where it gives us an idealized form of what success is, what beauty or handsome is, actually affects someone's self-esteem. And for real, mostly when we come to social media, people post uh, their part where they are looking good. They don't they don't give you their behind scene, to be honest. So what this should tell you is like everyone is not perfect, to be honest. Everyone is trying to make himself perfect. So if you try to compare your behind scenes to someone idealized way, it will be affecting you at the end of the day, because you will be comparing yourself with an ideal thing that you cannot reach. And even as a Muslim, you need to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you in the best form. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. So if you try to compare yourself, or first we need to understand that the main goal of Iblis is to make you have no worth in your life. So the moment you go in that way, that you feel you don't look well because you are comparing yourself with someone else you have seen, or an influencer, or someone who is an maybe, let's say, he's rich and he's showing you something that you don't have, at the end of the day it will affect you. And do you know how much those guys are invested to post one picture of themselves, to be honest? So you actually, if they are honest, I usually tell them like this: if you are honest, no one usually posts early in the morning when he wakes up while he have those. No one posts actually. Yeah. So they will post this because if you are honest, you know how you look that morning. So to be honest, it affects you when you compare yourself, and it will bring some body image issues. It also brings some depression to you, because it's an ideal that you'll never reach. I think that's, yeah.
So let me come to you, Munira. If there's anything you want to add on the aspect of how much social media affect our self-esteem, either positively or negatively.
Okay. So just to add on that, in terms of social media, um, social media is a platform you connect. And if you look for your self-esteem in a place whereby you're connecting, chances are you're going to conform to what everyone thinks is right. So, a positive aspect about it is you get to know people, connect with people, learn people's cultures, and also fit in or belong somewhere. But when it comes to deriving who you are and gaining confidence in yourself, social media is not the place. Totally not the place. Reason being, you'll conform to their standards, you'll conform to other people's way of confidence, and then you lose yourself. And a very important aspect of self esteem is knowing who you are. And if you don't know who you are and you get to know who you are from other people, you lose the essence of self there.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Munira. So for me, I will only add one point, and that is do not equate the amount of likes or comment you get on social media to your self-worth. And I'm talking to both the people who are famous and the ones who are not. So just because you got 2 likes or maybe like say 2 comments on your post does not necessarily mean that your self-worth is low. Or if you got, let's say, thousands and thousands of views and likes and millions of comments, does not also mean like your self-worth is over the moon or anything like that. Because this who you are is completely different from what you do or how you interact with people on social media. I think it will be very important for us to separate those two so that we are not either, affected negatively on what we see on social media. I would love us to transition to another conversation, and that is now that we talked about what can affect our self-worth, and we also talked about what self-worth means and how we can, what are some of the elements when it comes to self-worth. If let's say we already have low self-worth, what are some of the things that we can do to practice and build a strong positive self-esteem or body image of ourselves?
A very interesting question, actually, because if we look at it, no one would have been coming to therapy if they're not trying to build their self worth.
True.
So take this as therapy, free therapy.
True.
So take this as free therapy. When we start with how to build self worth, we start with the inner voice.
Mhm.
And when we talk about inner voice, it's the voice that always tells you, you are this, you're that, you're good enough, you're bad enough, you're not worthy, you don't deserve this.
Mhm.
So we start with that voice. So when we start with that voice, it actually means talking back to that voice,
Mhm.
even if it's loudly. It's and a few days ago, I was seeing a meme that said something that we never like acknowledge, and we think it's stupid or crazy, is talking to yourself.
Oh, okay.
Everyone does that.
Mhm.
Even if people actually see you and they tell you, "Ah, this seems like it's a beginning of being crazy." I want you to understand that everyone in your life, everyone who's walking outside there is doing it. So do it for yourself. Don't conform to that fact. Um, Talk back to that inner voice. Tell it how worthy you are and how deserving you are. And that starts with believing yourself. And when we say believe in yourself, it means know who you are. Be aware of how your decisions are. Be aware of your negative traits. Be aware of your positive traits. Be aware of the things that in your life are influencing your self esteem. What are things that when you do it, you feel to yourself, mm-mm, I'm not good enough. No, I'm evaluating myself in a negative manner.
Mhm.
As Zakaria said, I'll use one thing. If you want to boost your self-esteem, make a to-do list or have goals. And then start with that. We start with those goals. Start with ticking off. Every time you achieve something, you prove a point to yourself.
Amazing.
Every time you achieve something, you prove a point to yourself.
Mhm.
Meaning that every time you tick a box in that goals,
Mhm.
whether it takes 1 year, whether it takes a week, whether it takes a day, whether it takes 1 hour, you prove your self worth to your own self. So every achievement that you make goes to your self esteem. I am good enough today. I have achieved that. And then repeat, this is something we normally do in therapy.
Mhm.
Forgive all the people that have shown you you're not good enough. you're not deserving. That is the first people who gave you the inner voice. Forgive them first. And then, secondly, take their position. Adult you and younger you have a difference, meaning that adult you is capable, adult you is able to make decisions, adult you is also able to hold a child's hand. Younger you didn't have all these privileges and all these responsibilities. So now, reparent yourself. Let adult you sometimes take that position. When you're meditating, for example, you can sit down, um, have a background music playing, and then just go into your mind, in your senses, and feel everything that's around you. And then now imagine yourself walking towards younger you.
Mhm.
And as you walk towards younger you, observe the environment that you have for younger you. Is it a forest? Is it an ocean? Is it inside a room? Is it inside a house? How does younger you look like? And the emotions that you carry will always show it. And as you walk towards younger you, I want you to listen to younger you.
Mhm.
What are some of the things in them? Are they positive? Is younger you telling you something positive? What kind of emotions are written? Are they fearful? Are they sad? And then from there, I want you to be able to sit down with younger you, validate the emotions that they feel. You're sad, yes. Someone told you that you're not good enough.
Mhm.
Someone told you you don't have value.
Mhm.
Someone told you that you're not supposed to be doing what you're doing.
Mhm.
Someone told you you don't have any ability to do things.
Mhm.
And then from there, I want you to look at yourself from a point of give adult you the advice. Let adult you give the advice to the younger you. Tell them how good enough they are.
Mhm.
Tell them how valuable you are.
Mhm.
Tell that child how important they are. And slowly, as you meditate and come out of it, be able to see the difference in you. Every day that you practice this makes your self-esteem boost. And when we say something like boosting self-esteem,
Mhm.
it's not something that happens
Instant.
instant. Like, oh, I'm good enough. And then now you become the
You're done.
confident.
True.
You become the confident
Uh-huh.
person in everything.
Mhm.
No, it's more of like
It's a process.
it's a process. Today you start, you find a difference. You talk to someone. You have social anxiety, talk to two people
Mhm.
that you don't know. Talk
Mhm.
to one person that you don't know.
Mhm.
Make small conversations.
Mhm.
Slowly, your self-esteem grows.
Mhm.
And always evaluate yourself yearly if you can. How much do I view myself? How much of me has changed?
Mhm.
How do I look at the mirror and what kind of talks do I have?
Mhm.
When I'm faced with a challenge,
Mhm.
what kind of words come out of me? What does my inner voice say? And believe you me, your inner voice changes.
Wow. That was a complete free therapy from Munira. Before I come to Zakaria, I will only add one word, and that is having the right support system. Having the right support system just does marvelous job. And the best way to test, because it's always hard to know if I'm in the right surrounding, supportive, conducive environment or not. If you want to know if you're in the right environment, the best way to test is, are you authentic around the people that you call friends, the people that you call your tribe? Are you authentic? Or do you have to behave a certain way to fit in? Do you feel like you belong there? Do you feel ease? Do you feel home? Do you just let your guard down the moment you're around specific individuals that you call them friends? So the right support environment, and you know, they always like give you that positive affirmation, they give you the validation, everything that Munira just told us that we need to give ourselves, we also need to get it from the outside world. So please ensure that you have the right support, positive, conducive, safe environment. Thank you very much, Munira. I will transition and go to Zakaria. Munira talked to us about the inner voice that we all have. And I wanted us to touch on the aspect of, if the inner voice is negative and it has really affected our self-esteem negatively, how can we go against it? How can we overcome that negative self-talk?
I think one of the ways that we can challenge the inner self-talk, the negative one, actually is one of it is reframing your thoughts on how negative you are thinking about yourself. Sometimes instead of you dwelling with your incapabilities or something that you cannot do or something that's affecting you, is better at least even a point of something that you enjoy about yourself. At least it will challenge and equalize the negative thought you had about yourself. And also, just to add on it, as much as there's this young boy who was actually went viral in social media, Victor.
Yeah,
So where he says, every time I wake up in the morning,
I'm blessed.
I am blessed. I don't care about what people say.
Very true.
Okay, any comment you give me or whatever is just an additional.
Exactly.
So
I know I'm
actually,
blessed.
yeah, I know I'm blessed. So there was another guy who said also, Mimi, as much as I wake up, everything else is unnecessary to me. I'm blessed. So it's actually in a way you change your negative thought to a positive thought. It is you who can kill yourself, and it's you who will help yourself. Actually, to be honest, and also to add on the external part, which also affect a lot, uh, because to be honest, people will say a lot about you, and the Prophet ﷺ, every moment he see people who have issue with their self-worth, he actually used to advise them on a way they can create the relationship between them and their Lord, strengthen it. And actually, one of the highest attribute of believer that in the Quran that was saying that وَلَا يَخَافُونَ يَوْمَ التَّلَائِمِ, they don't actually fear about the blame of the people who are around them, because inherently they understand who they are. And actually, there was also, and I realized one of the ulama used to say that the moment you make perfect the relationship between you and your Lord, other people will actually love you, and because He is the one who is in control of the heart of the people. So it doesn't mean that all the time it happens like that, but actually focus also on that. And it was also فلا تخشوهم واخشوني, don't fear about them, fear about me. So at least strengthen the connection that you have with your Lord, and at the end of the day, people will see it whether you like it or not. So because today, for example, in social media, yesterday you have been doing well, you have been posting. For example, us today we are posting, we are saying something good. It will happen a day whether you can do a small mistake, and what can happen? Imagine all your good things is just demolished there. So people will dwell, and especially the communities that we are dealing, our Muslim community. And alhamdulillah, I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala change our perspective and see every aspect of life that we are tackling a small bit of positivity, so that I know at the end of the day we are insan, we are human being, something wrong happens, but let's not actually challenge people outside or people who are close to you on negative way, because at the end of the day it affects them in, and to the person who is affecting, actually consider it as something that someone who, just as an opinion actually. Because opinion is never right. Opinion is how you see me. It's not how I see myself. So consider
how you are.
or how you are.
Yes.
So if you consider it, every negative aspect or every negative comment as an opinion, it actually change on how you see your self-worth, and it can later build your self-esteem. I think for me that's it.
So just to add on that, I really loved when you said talk to people and look at them from a positive aspect. That's literally what he meant. And this is something I've noticed even in therapy. The moment you change the way you look at people, it also affects how you look at yourself.
True.
The moment you genuinely give a compliment, it actually magnifies or brings some sort of light within you.
True.
Like you'll find, and I've seen a friend of mine who was wearing a good dress, and I'm like, "Damn, you look nice, you look good." I'm not looking at her from a point of jealousy. I'm not looking at her from a point of what if I was in that dress, or no. I'm genuinely just focusing on her because my first impression was that dress and
Looks nice.
looks nice.
So you're appreciating it.
So you appreciate it directly instead of associating it with yourself. That makes it easier for you even to look at and form relationships with people. And by the time that your negative self-talk will change to positive, it will also come from the ways that you've interacted with people. And mind you, people do see good in you. And when they see good in you, they will also point it out. They'll be like, okay, this looks nice, you look beautiful, or you're hardworking, you master this the aspect very well. Don't come with it from a point of like, no, I just did it. No, appreciate that fact. Stay in that moment. And when you stay in that moment, it builds your self-esteem. Have you seen whereby you're like, thank you, it looks nice, yeah, but I know I just did it yesterday, yeah,
Yeah.
you don't appreciate it. And when you don't appreciate that aspect that time,
Mhm.
it will boost you, like it will decrease all that self-esteem work that you've been doing. But if you just stay in that moment and appreciate it, the self-talk, the negative self-talk changes.
I will borrow something that you stated,
Mhm.
which is appreciating and building a good relationship with others.
Mm.
Staying in that point, how can we, us sitting here today, encourage a positive uh, self-image and also self-esteem, specifically to teenagers and also young adults? How can we encourage them to form a good relationship with their body, with their self-worth, and also with their self-esteem?
Okay, it's a very good question. If I look at it from a perspective of psychology,
Mhm.
they're in a position where they're forming who they are,
Mhm.
and they're learning about their identity.
Mhm.
So when it comes to encouraging their own self-worth and self-esteem, it starts with complimenting, genuinely complimenting them. You look nice in this. Um, Most of the time, that's the age whereby their body is changing and their hormones are irregular. They they have hormonal issues, anger issues, irritations, body changes. So much is going on with them. And on top of that, they're trying to form, who am I? I was a child, I was a baby, I was being taken care of. And then all of a sudden, now I'm being called a girl. You know, I'm being taught menstruation. I'm being told I have to wear pads. You know, every month I have to face some pain. Every month there's a part of my body that's changing. So acknowledge first. Acknowledge that they are changing. Appreciate the changes that are happening within them. If you see a pimple or acne starting at that point, don't go about being like, oh, your face used to be so smooth. What
What
happened?
happened?
What happened?
Yeah,
What are you expecting this child to be?
yeah,
That's a stage, a normal thing that happens. Another thing is they smell. Some people smell
yes,
when they're growing.
yes,
But that does not mean just because they smell, you have to push them. It's part of their body.
yes,
It's part of the changes that are happening within
yes.
them. That's a time whereby you educate them. Okay, you're growing. If it's possible, go take 2 times shower,
Shower.
or if possible, 3 times. If it's not going
Use
away, use
deodorants.
deodorants.
Yes.
As for girls, you can use perfume, specific perfumes that are meant for you and your hair. Boys, the same thing. Change your bed sheets regularly. You know, go out for walk, engage in sports. The thing about I've seen with teenagers and parents who are handling teenagers is you still want to control them.
True.
You still want to hold them.
Yes.
And that does not do anything for their self-esteem. Actually, it builds a distance between you and your child, and it builds a distance between themselves, and the views that they have of themselves. That is the confidence that they're building within themselves. What happens is, as a child, you've been protecting them. You've held them in that position of like that cocoon of, I'll protect you, I'll be there for you, I'll make sure that you're safe. But then the problem is, this child is transitioning. Now is when they're learning how to talk to opposite sex, maybe, and they're forming romantic relationships. They have crushes. They're writing names of people. Reproduction system is also working.
Yes.
So many things
It's
are
actually
happening.
overworking.
It's overworking at that
Yes.
time. So
Yes.
what happens between a parent and a child is, instead of the parent is stuck in that child, and the teenager is going overboard because they're like, I'm now an adult. At the same time, I need to, like, I need to have, I need to master my life. I need to be the go-to person. So if you want to build your child's self-esteem, make sure that you're at par with them. Kindly realize that they're also facing romantic issues, they're facing reproduction issues, hygiene issues, body changes. So at that point, be with them from an educative system and from a point of like, oh, how are you feeling today? If they tell you, I don't want to talk about my feelings, it's okay. What do you want to do? Every child has a good and a bad personality in them. Can you focus in the good personality? Can you be able to find things that they enjoy and indulge in the things that they enjoy, and then from there work together?
Thank you so much. One thing I will really want people to remember on the point of Munira is it's a transition period. I will say from 12 to 20 is the most tricky stage anybody can go through. And most of the time you hear this aspect of, oh, teenagers are hard-headed. You know, teenagers are, I know all kind of like individuals. Most of the time it's not actually them being a bad person or them being a hard-headed person. They're just going through a lot. A lot. It's a very tricky stage. It's a very tricky developmental stage. Your body is just going through a lot that are beyond your control. And this is the duration of role role formation and identity formation and role confusion. So what they need from us is actually a support. What they need from us is love. What they need from us is being gentle with them and hand holding. I would love to transition to the last aspect of this conversation, which is how is self-esteem related to mental health?
Low self-esteem is not just a symptoms of mental health. Actually, it also affects diverse way of your life as an individual. Before we just go to mental health, because there are so many people who are normal, but because of their self-esteem, they try to change their self, who they are, the way they look, the way people see them, and to be honest, there's something that you don't have to stress yourself. There's something that you have contribution to it, and there's something that you don't have contribution. Actually, the way you look is not it is not who it is not you who choose it, to be honest. So there's no issue, or there's no why should you actually stress yourself on trying to change on how you look? And I was actually listening one of the day, a father advising his daughters and sons about marriage. And one funny thing he was telling them was that beauty and handsomeness is not something that you have to put on the table as a man or as a woman. So I was like, hey, this dad is saying something so it's important. It was like he told them those are things that are not yours. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who give you. And it means that everyone, the way he look, he knew that he looks perfect the way he is. So you what you have to focus is building your character, building your relationship with others, building a life of purpose. At that, when you build those ones, it won't be having an impact on your mental health. You won't be feeling low self-esteem or self-worth of how you do things or how you look, to be honest. And the other thing, it also affects social gatherings. Someone who has low self-esteem cannot actually even speak in social gatherings because he don't have self-confidence or whatever he's saying or whatever she's saying. So because of it, every moment they speak or every moment they interact with people, they actually look and angle themselves in an angle where they lack something. Actually, it's not good to be overconfident, but actually, it's also worse to be underconfident. So it's always good for you to understand your worth and present yourself in a manner that you are who you are, not faking. Because at the end of the day, it also bring anxiety issues. You'll be anxious of even interacting with the few people you know in classrooms, in workmates, in every aspect of your life, to be honest. So it's actually very important for us to consider on a way we can improve our self-worth and self-esteem so that we are not mental drain on who we are actually.
Before we come to the end of the conversation, I just wanted to add one point on what Zakaria said. There is a cyclical relationship between self-esteem and mental health, because mental health can actually have a huge negative mental illness can actually have a huge negative impact on your self-esteem. and so is your self-esteem having a negative impact on your mental health. That means you can develop things like depression, or it can even worsen your state of anxiety or other mental illnesses. And that marks the end of our conversation today on self-esteem, self-worth, and connected it back to mental health. We will transition into other discussions in relation to the same topic. Do not go from where you are. We will be posting a YouTube video every Wednesday afternoon, and we will be having, like, snippets and conversations and posters almost every day or every other day on other social media platforms. Do not forget to subscribe, like, and share, and make sure other people are also benefiting from this content. Thank you.